Thanks for joining us. So I am Gretchen Tigley. I am the VP of Managed Services at Advanced Systems Group. And I am here with a great team to talk about, guess what, AI. But I want to frame this conversation a little differently. So I am here with three experts who have worked in post-production long enough to have been through multiple waves of change in technology and in how we produce content. And the way we want to talk about this conversation really is not like AI is some crazy tool that's going to change everything and totally revolutionize it and take all of our jobs away, but really as another wave of change in the tools that we use that we're just going to ride through. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we can learn from these past waves of change that we've been through, what human skills still really matter, and how we can prepare for the next wave of change. So let me start by having each of you folks introduce yourself. Dan, if you want to go.
Hi, I'm Dan. Nice to see you all. Just want to thank ASG in particular because they gave me an on-ramp to bring AI into some of the post work that they were doing on Virtual Truck. And a lot of organizations are resistant to this on-ramp. And so I just wanted to state my appreciation. And I think it's really important for everybody to just be open to these new tools. There's a lot of power and access to your own personal creativity. So I just want to encourage everybody to remain open to these tools. I've been in post for more than 25 years. I've seen the waves from nonlinear to watching the online rooms disappear to the DV revolution when I got my first copy of Final Cut on a DVD with a stolen serial. We're at that same point again, except it's hyper mega methamphetamine fueled speed, and so we all got to keep up. So hopefully this session and the other ones will, encourage you and get you excited about what's possible.
Sandy?
Hello, my name is Sandy Prudencio, and I'm a senior motion graphics designer with the YouTube Creative Studio. And I've been doing motion graphics now for 16 years. It's been a long run, and so I have, similar to Dan saying, I've seen all the changes. I've seen video go from 16 by 9 to 9 by 16, and from screens to the screen in your hand. So it's been a wild ride, and
And I'm David Unger. I'm a group product marketing manager over at Discord. Before Discord, I was at Google for 10 years leading a production team, doing everything from video to social media. And then before that, I was sort of born with a camera in my hand. I think I stole my mom's Super 8 camera when I was 5 years old, and I've been making movies ever since.
Excellent, thanks guys. So as we talked about, we've all kind of lived through multiple waves of change of how we create content and the tools that we use to do that. So looking at the current sort of wave of AI-powered tools, what can we learn from these past waves of change that we've ridden through? Dan, maybe you want to start. You've mapped us through the journey that went through Final Cut and beyond.
Well, I think there are so many tools available. It's kind of like trying to drink out of a fire hose, to sip water. It's changing so rapidly that it can be discouraging to try and keep up. I don't know much advice to give you except to stay curious, to stay. Okay, I was called an expert. I'm not. I'm an expert explorer. That's what's key. Remain curious, remain open. Again, I'm just going to say it again and again. These tools are for you. You now can meet. If I wasn't going to name names, Radical Media, any of the big production companies, they're the ones that need to be scared, not you. Okay? This is actually putting a lot of power in all of your hands.
Sandy, what do you think? What can you learn? What can we all take?
I can just go back and remember when UX designers were shifting from Illustrator to Sketch and now Figma, And as motion designer, we use a lot of those products, and we have to know how to use them to create animations and create motion. So it's similar to what Dan's saying, is like, don't be afraid of it so much. So it doesn't mean like you have to know every single tool out there. I think you need to use discretion on what works for what you need it for, because I think to try to be an expert in all the AI tools that are out there is going to be too, you're never going to do it. And then you'll probably end up getting discouraged, and you don't want to do that. So I think just being open to adapting, because everything's going to constantly change, and so you have to be open to that.
I think a good place to start is to have a real-world practical problem that you're trying to solve. And it's not really about what tool should I learn, it's about how do I find a tool that will solve that problem. And so when I'm navigating AI tools, it's always, okay, is it going to be an animation video? Is this going to be hyper-realistic? And then I'll go explore different models and get a sense for it. And then that exploration leads to, I don't know, expertise and opinion and all the things that you'd want to be able to tell a story with.
Can I add to that? I think we all set out for every project that we embark on, what's the end goal? What's the call to action? What do you want the viewer to feel? What do you want them to do, right? That's the end goal of anything that we're creating. If it's feeling an emotion. So what are the tools that we employ in traditional production to do that, right? We have cameras, we have dollies, we have all these things, or we just have an iPhone, you know? What is the message that you're trying to get, and what are the tools that you would use? Same process. Think of it almost like an animation studio, though, in that you can iterate in the timeline. For instance, project I just finished over the weekend, I've lost track because it was like 5 a.m. kind of jam. I'm sitting in the studio, and I've got my timeline for this thing, and I'm looking at it and going, this shot sucks. Normally, what would I do? I would go into my bins and hunt around for a shot that I would replace it with. I wanted a shot of the guy walking up to the warehouse, so I generated it. Think of that. I'm in the studio, I need a shot, so I make it. Get that in your head, right? That's a revolution. That's where production is happening simultaneously with post. Think of that.
Also, that shot looks realistic.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the thing, is that the AI is looking as bad as it will ever look right now. And I always like to say, give it 2 weeks. Something else is coming.
I'm going to keep changing. So, you know, there is a perception, I think, right now that these AI tools are going to make it so much faster and so much easier to produce great content, that you can just sort of hit like video button and you're going to have exactly what you need. I know you all found that that's actually not the case, at least not yet, that it actually takes a lot of work and maybe in some cases a lot longer to produce great AI content. So why is it still so hard? Maybe, David, do you want to start?
I think that the tools aren't there. And so there's a lot of bridging gaps. For example, I just came off this project where I made a Waldo movie trailer. I wanted it to be hyper
And it's
realistic.
really good.
You should all see it, it's fun. It's hilarious. But I want it to look real. I want it to have realistic cinematic effects and style, and I wanted it to have actors that act. So I voice modeled all these people. I painted every single picture in Photoshop to get it to be what I wanted. It was 1.5 minutes, took me 80 hours, and probably, I don't know, 10 different AI tools. So there isn't like it's like a lot of people think it's, you push a button and then you get a movie.
Like Sora.
Yeah, it's not that at all, especially if you're trying to tell a story and you have that in your head. Directing it right now requires a lot of hacking. And so I think like artists who are generalists who can do storytelling and Photoshop and cinematography and rhythm and acting and all of those things combined, there's like a huge need for that right now. And I think that we'll see the industry lean on those types of people in the next year or two. So y'all should check out the Waldo video.
Yeah, follow him on LinkedIn. He's got some cool stuff up there. It's a good Jurassic Park one too. Sandy, what do you think? Why is it still so hard? What is the time-consuming parts of using AI tools right now?
Similar to what David is saying, it's like you still need the foundational tools of storytelling, of editing. You need to know all that to give it the prompt that it needs. Like some of the prompts that we're generating for some of our marketing videos are large. Like we can't even show the whole prompt because it would take up space on the videos. So it's that thing where it's still not there yet, but like, and then similar to what Dan's saying, like 2 weeks, give it 2 weeks, something will be different. But I think knowing the foundations and how to articulate what you want out of a prompt it's still not fully there, but you still need all those foundations.
I think the foundations are, they're over 100 years old. It's filmmaking, right? Storytelling is storytelling. Doesn't matter how you tell the story. It's how, what are the tools you're using to tell the story. We have new tools now, but storytelling is still storytelling. What's your end goal? What's your call to action? What do you want your audience to do? What do you want them to feel? Tools.
No, that totally leads me to my next question of like, what are those base skills that have not changed, that will not change, aside from storytelling?
I think having an obsession. So like, for me, I get the picture in my head, I write the story, and then I'm obsessed to find a way to get that to screen. And so that is, what is that, tenacity, that's curiosity. But then in terms of like traditional skills, like, again, I've had a camera in my hand for 30 years. Been on Photoshop since it came out, Adobe Premiere since it came out, After Effects, Maya, 3D Arts. I took animation, and it's part of my DNA. So I lean on that, and then that is what helps me find a path to making the story come to the image. The one thing I will say is that the industry doesn't exist. Like this is a new. It's like if you're going to like a big Hollywood studio and you're pitching an AI show, a lot of these executives think you're just hitting a button and then out comes the show. It's like not the case at all. I think you need a whole team of artists. You need a lot of funding, and it's expensive. It takes a lot. So I think changing the narrative about what actually goes into getting something, even if it's simple, like to tell a good story, you need a lot of money and artists to do so. It's not just hitting a button.
Yeah, what's that? Have you seen that GIF, the one with the sliders that says, what is it? Fast, cheap, or good, right? It's the same thing exists. It's not, that hasn't changed. The tools have changed. Maybe some of the speed changes, like again, being on the timeline and being able to generate a shot rather than calling your production team and say, we need a second unit out there. That can end. But again, it's what's the project? If it's a truly human project, shoot it with cameras, right? The traditional tools are still there. It depends on how you want to do it.
I think there's going to be a world where we blend traditional tools with these AI tools. So we were talking before we came up here. I think if you're on an actual shoot and you take a picture of your subject in a sort of 360-degree style, so you got like a front, side, three-quarter view, back view, in that light, you can now generate insert shots that will be seamless and fool the eye. So if you have like reshoots, things like that they're going to become much easier to do now, and then people won't pick up on it. So I think that's kind of where you'll start to see some of the industry tiptoe into like leaning on AI like now. That's possible now.
I think some things need to be proven. I think probably producers need to see the results. Like they have to have an oh shit moment. Like, oh. And I think that's coming. The industry is going to change. There's just no way around it. People are resistant to this technology, and I understand it because it undermines. Look, I'll just be straight up with you. All right, COVID happened, right? Work stopped. Then the strike, right? No work. I was on food stamps for fucking 2 years with my wife. I'm not even kidding. All I did was immerse myself in this. I had nothing else to do. So now I know more than I did 2 years ago, and that makes me more adept. So that's my only advance. I have a little more time on some people, but the tools are all available to all of us. Make the most of it.
So I'm going to let you guys maybe nerd out for a minute. Do you all want to talk about some of the tools you're really excited about right now?
I think Higgsfield's insane.
Agreed.
I've been like, that's where I live. I've tried all the models on their own sites. Higgsfield has a nice sort of artist curated approach to it where they give you different tools. My Waldo video was entirely in Higgsfield with Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects. And that's like 90% of what I do is in Higgsfield right now. Because you can lose a lot of money too. That's the other thing. Like every single platform has like a pay to play. And
Token.
it's
Tokens,
insane.
Tokens and tokens.
Yeah, credits. How many credits are
Tokens.
you going to pay for? It's nuts. So I just want, well, there's a lot of, Higgsfield is maybe not the only option. There's a lot of different companies that bridge models together and you can pay for them. But that's my jam right now, is Higgsfield.
I'm just really excited to see the tools that people are going to start creating with this. Like, what are they going to be building? We're already seeing it now, and so, and I can't like specifically name any specific tools, but I know like School of Motions talked about it a lot too, about the different tools that people are creating and ways that they're going to make animation easier. You've got Mocha now doing machine learning for rotoing, so there's going to be a bunch of tools out there, and I'm excited about that, like what people are going to start developing.
On Mocha. Why Mocha anymore? This is the trick.
Right, you're right.
All right, that shot, that standard shot of the athlete walking onto the field, right, and the crowd's all, well, just shoot it without the people. You don't need to go into Mocha. You just tell the AI, fill the stadium with fans, screaming fans, all wearing orange, all wearing purple, whatever. That's just what you do now.
Actually, that's a pain in the ass. So, I just did this, and I had to go into my crowd and then generative fill all the weird artifacts that it hallucinates.
It's the worst it's ever going to be.
It's the worst it's ever going to be. Exactly. Matt said it.
Like David said, Higgsfield's kind of my jam right now. I'm also doing a lot of stuff in Comfy UI. Have you heard of Comfy? No? Comfy UI. All right, if you are familiar with node structures, Nuke and that kind of thing, that's where Comfy is. And it scares the hell out of people because it's all nodes. But it is probably the best way to have consistent control because you are like literally running nodes. You can automate. It's crazy. And it's hella intimidating. But if you can get over that, you have incredible tools at your disposal that you connect tools to other tools. So you can run an automated pipeline. Essentially, you could put your production house in a node. That's possible. The other thing is, I think that's changing is the necessity for horsepower and things like NVIDIA cards. We're used to building these huge boxes and farms in our post facilities, but so much of this compute is now happening in the cloud. So just on a, thank you, stereo now. Which one? Thanks. So the compute power, you could be doing a lot of AI work on a Mac Mini. You really can, because most of this is being done in the cloud. So Run Comfy is a website where you can do comfy stuff and utilize their NVIDIA cards in the cloud. You can rent them, so you don't have to buy hardware. Higgsfield, yeah, that's the jam.
Figma partner Weavy, which is it's Comfy UI, but way easier for anybody to use. And I highly recommend FilmSpark.ai.
FilmSpark.
Yeah, those are host applications. We have not had a host application. We've been running plugins without a host for the last 3 years. Think about it that way.
Interesting. So you're talking about taking nodes. They've collected the nodes.
No, so what? I'm sorry.
I want to talk about this because everybody's missing this big point of what's happened over the last year. So up until this year, up until the beginning of 2025, anybody here who works with 3D rendering applications or After Effects, you have After Effects and you got all these plugins like Trapcode, right? You've got Maya, you've got Cinema 4D, you've got plugins to renderers, you got Redshift, you got V-Ray, you got RenderMan. We have had the plugin renderers without a host. Comfy UI was the only host to get to these plugins. No, so now we have multiple hosts. We have Weavy, which got acquired by Figma a few months ago. Weavy is a node-based system. You pay once. You pay to Weavy. You then have access to all the plugin renderers. So you can render to Higgsfield. You could render to Sora. You could render to Veo. You could render to Kling.
So this is what's happening.
MovieFlow gives you the same thing without the nodes. It's like any of us could work in Premiere. It's pretty easy to understand the metaphor. It's not easy to work in Nuke. Nuke is the equivalent of Comfy UI or Weavy. Premiere is the equivalent of Filmspark.ai, which used to be called MovieFlow. I highly recommend everybody check those out because they are curating the models to you. It's not a scary thing of a fire hydrant of 3,000 models that are living on the web. Weavy is finding you the best 30 models to use, and you could go in there and you can do everything. You can do text to image, image to video, image editing, video editing. You could use Topaz and all these tools. You can upres. It's a host application to all of the models, which are plugin renderers. And I highly recommend everybody check out Weavy and check out.
That was Matt from Weavy.
Hey. Thank you, Matt. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about how.
I wish.
Maybe one.
Thank you.
Right. I want to talk a little bit about how leaders should be thinking differently about how they're building post-production teams. So, how are these teams looking different than they did a few years ago? Who are the right kinds of people? What's the right mix of folks to have on a successful team right now?
Yeah, I did touch on this. I think generalists, again, it's folks who know full spectrum creation for video are going to be super key. I also think actors, playing with these videos, they don't act. They don't have the rhythm, they don't have the timing, comedy's not good. So actors, I could see a world where voice actors are feeding AI models, like 11 Labs audio generation, and then those become part of the workflow. I think there's a lot of artists need for these tools right now. It's not, generalists across the board.
You need to know filmmaking.
Yeah,
You need to know
100%.
marketing. You need to know story. Story.
That's the other thing, even the different disciplines, right? So if you're a cinematographer, you can now choose lenses. You could choose what types of shots. If you're going
You
to
choose the camera body.
Yeah, they give you all these different. You can choose what you want to do. So people who know these things are going to make the best looking stuff.
So it's still experts. I mean, what do you think? Are we some of those maybe lower level, assistant editor level work? Is that some stuff that's becoming more?
Bye, assistant.
No comment.
Sorry.
But really, the top level skills and the experts and the people who have experience are.
I think it's an opportunity though, right? It's not I think those people are in the field. They could learn these things very easily.
I think the titles are dissolving. What's a professional? All these people here, we're all, quote, professionals, right? But how many people half our age are professionals on YouTube kicking ass, making 6 figures a month? Are they professionals?
Yeah.
So, what are these titles that we give ourselves? Let's be generalists. Let's learn everything.
Yeah, in some ways, the democratization of these
Exactly
tools
it.
really
I think
changes who has
another-
access to them, and yeah.
Another point I wanted to call out is being able to articulate what you want. This is I'm not good at explaining things, but 2 months prompting, you really figure out, okay, that confuses the model, that's good for the model. So it's almost like learning another language. So you got to learn the
Or
language.
going back to your language classes, English. What
Learning how to
syntax.
read and write.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
for
funny
prompting.
thing. All the what liberal arts majors are going to be successful with all of their reading knowledge.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. My communication studies degree
It's coming around. It's coming back around.
Completely. Okay, any last pieces of advice you have for folks wanting to dive into these tools and really be successful in post right now?
Okay. Explore. I mean, Dan said it earlier, like be open, know what, but also again, know what works for what you need it for. Like it's not going to be the solve for everything, but it may be, be open to it solving potentially something. So definitely being open to it.
I'll remind of one of my earlier points. Have a real world problem to solve and then find whatever tool is popping in your search right now. Because these things are changing like every day. I can't tell you how many times you go in and there's a new version or a new model or whatever. So like have the problem or have the story you want to tell and then use that to fuel your growth and education.
I highly recommend Theoretically Media on YouTube. Anybody know Tim, man in the blue suit walking down the street? No? Get to know Theoretically Media. Watch it on YouTube. This guy has always got the latest updates. What's the newest? All that stuff. I highly recommend tapping into that guy's wealth of knowledge. And as we all know, YouTube has become school, and so there are tutorials for everything. You can learn fast. A lot of these have trials that you can explore as well. Remember to keep the human in the loop, because all of this comes from us, right? All of these tools come from us. They're for us, and they require us. They require our experience, our knowledge, our emotions, and they're kind of agnostic in that way. It requires us to put in the data, the story, the emotion. And so, to me, again, this is just an opportunity. These tools are opportunities. They're not to be intimidated by.
Thank you all. And yeah, we're all around if anybody else wants to chat and nerd out on tools some more.